So I think when people think of influencers,
welcome to Run.
They have a little bit of a stereotype in their mind.
I wish I was you. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
And that reputation is not necessarily unearned.
I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment.
But I have a story to tell you guys about when influencers from Los Angeles came out to my farm here in the middle of nowhere, Vermont.
The cattle chores are done. You guys ready to take care of some chickens?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Let's check it out.
And spent a couple of days staying with me and trying to do farm chores. So the long story short is I met Aaron Burris and Veronica Merrill when I was out in Los Angeles earlier this year, and they said that they were really interested in farming and that one day they wanted to have a farm of their own. And so I was like, hey, you guys should come out to my farm. And then they were like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. We'll come out to your farm. And now usually people will like have that conversation with me, but they'll never follow through with it. But I was shocked when both Aaron and Veronica showed at my farm a few months later. And they spent several days with me just doing actual farm chores and farm work and hanging out.
The idea of owning land would be just so fun, and having like space to be out in nature and just enjoy it, like breathe the air, smell trees.
It's always been a dream of mine. Ever since I was a kid, I was like, I want to retire or at some point in my life have a farm or ranch similar to what my parents or what you have here. And then she just kind of was like, sure.
Now, don't get me wrong, though. I'm not trying to judge them by any means. I mean, even for me, myself, I'm not exactly what you'd consider a stereotypical traditional farmer, and I don't come from a traditional background.
Go back to Hatfield, where you belong.
In fact, if I look back 10 years ago, my wife and I were in somewhat of a similar position as Aaron and Veronica.
Wouldn't it be so nice to live on a farm someday?
Yeah, it would be hella cool.
Shortly after we got married, when my wife and I were living in Brooklyn, New York, that's when our farm dreams first started to sprout. Because we were living in New York City at the time, we were really just thinking of a small place in upstate New York. And because the real estate market was so unaffordable, we were like, well, maybe we could have like a weekend place upstate, and then we commute into the city for work, and that's just how we live our lives. And that's how we started to think about this dream of moving out to the country.
On the average, Mobile gets 5 feet of rainfall a year.
Must be good for the crops though.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Like Grant Bay, they grow a lot of watermelon.
Well, that's where all the water goes into the watermelon.
Right.
And at that time, there was this one image that I feel like was etched in my mind of where we ultimately wanted to go. It was this foodie magazine in New York that had this picture of a couple in their 40s on the cover of the magazine. The couple owned a farm, and in that portrait, they had like all of their animals. It was like them with some goats and some chickens and a dog and a cat, and it was like this core memory that I have of seeing that image and that photo and saying, yes, we would love to become those people eventually.
So the date is July 31st, 2014. And these are my tomatoes. I've been growing them here on our roof deck here in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. And I can't wait to eat these tomatoes.
But at the time, that was just a seed that hadn't really fully germinated. Living in our tiny little Brooklyn apartment, the dream seemed like a very distant fantasy, akin to buying a van and traversing the country or scaling Mount Kilimanjaro. These were aspirations, beautiful, yet seemingly unreachable given our lives and our careers at that time. But the dream of farm life really stuck with us. Allison was particularly enamored with the idea of waking up in the morning and being greeted by some enthusiastic goats. For me, it was the allure of the farming process, the idea of our sustenance coming directly from the earth, and that harmonious blend that occurs when nature's elements work together to produce food and life. When we moved to Washington, D.C., my career took a significant turn. I landed what appeared to be my dream job, more prestigious, more responsibility, and definitely a lot more financially rewarding. But I quickly realized that something was amiss. I found myself in a work environment that I didn't enjoy, and I left behind my friends in New York City, and making friends in your 30s, especially in a city like Washington, D.C., is very much an uphill battle. In that loneliness and isolation in Washington, D.C., I found that the sprouted seeds of the farm dream began to take real root. During this time, I grappled with feelings of sadness and isolation. The farm dream became more than just an aspiration. It turned into a refuge, a beacon of hope amidst a struggle.
There's something really nice about having this orchard out here. You know, like I envision animals kind of all grazing through here. I envision like all the trees being more than just sticks in the ground. And I gotta admit, it kind of makes me really happy to look at the future, right?
I threw myself into learning everything I could about farming, reading books, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, and even going out and visiting farms and seeing how they actually work. This wasn't just a pastime. It was a step towards making a dream a tangible reality. You know, looking back on it now, our journey towards the farm life wasn't just about escaping the city or seeking a different lifestyle. It was about finding a deeper connection to the land, to a community, to each other, and to a life that felt authentic and fulfilling.
I want this, and then I want a ranch, and I want to have a vineyard on the ranch. I want to have a farm on the ranch. I want animals on the ranch. He said no to horses. Oh, all I see, like in those movie clips where they run right in between your legs and they just go, wow! I don't want that.
Yep. That's a big pig. Sorry.
Yeah, Bessie.
Spending the time with Aaron and Veronica was really enjoyable. First off, they're very nice people. But second, watching them get to work on the farm and discover the thrills of farm work and discover the magic of doing things in the tangible world and seeing how life is when you interact with animals and seeing what it's like when you make changes to the land, I got to admit, there was something very, very fun and inspiring in just seeing their enthusiasm and their wonder.
What you're gonna want to do is have your hand up here and then let it come down. Because what you want is more about the momentum than your arm strength.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go. That was a good whack. I'll get you up loose again.
We can't edit that part out.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah!
That's my girl!
High five. Good work.
You know, when I first came to the farm, I was so filled with wonder and amazement with every little thing about the farm. And as the years have gone on, I still feel very deep affection for it. But sometimes the things that once seemed magical end up becoming mundane. But when you look at the farm through the eyes of folks like Aaron and Veronica, it has a way of rekindling that magic and re-inspiring you and reinvigorating you.
Hello. Oh my gosh. Hey. Hello. I'm gonna grab you. Why? Come here. This isn't hurting her, right? Okay. Aaron, look at me. I'm just holding a chicken.
The fact that you grabbed the chicken and the chicken went crazy in your hand and you didn't freak out, this is not Ronnie anymore.
Like, my farm's a little more rough and tumble, and so she struggles a little bit because she's a little bit of a slow chicken.
Oh.
And so to be able to give them that experience and get a chance to spend the time with them and see them get inspired and see them have farm dreams of their own, it was a lot of fun.
You move that by yourself?
Yeah. Well, I usually drag it. I don't carry it, but yeah.
Now, they made a whole video about their experience and what that was like, and I'll leave a link for it down below. But I gotta say, I really enjoyed having them here, and I really enjoyed getting to know them more, and I really enjoyed seeing their farm dreams sprout too.
Why did the chicken cross the road?
It depends on which chicken it was. If it was Dottie, it was probably because she thought there was more food on the other side.
If it was Barbara, she was probably suspecting that somebody was trying to steal her eggs, and so she was going after them before they went after her. It really depends more on the chicken than the road.
Touche, sir. Touche. How often do you get asked that?
Never found.
I'm a true farmer.